Whoops, that's a problem. Okay. Let's see how I can do this. Get in here without flashing the world. Alright. Oops, that's YouTube is not gonna like that little nipple flash that just happened. We'll act like that didn't happen. Okay. Those of you who watch on the replay will get a little more excitement than I think the internet allows, but whatever, we'll make it work. Yeah, I'm glad you found it in your email today. Hi, Jessica. We're going to take some time to let folks trickle in. So I realized what I did is when I changed the time yesterday, or the date, the time got changed. So I think there was I don't know if it was 7 to 7:30, but I know people are going to be joining us a little bit later because I think there was a little confusion in the time. So it's okay, first of all, because this will be all available on replay. And second of all, we'll just kind of get to know each other while everyone trickles in. So if you are joining us, please go ahead and just find your way to the chat room. Get familiar with YouTube Classroom if you've not done a YouTube Live before. It's just like everybody else. I get to see your comments and your questions here, and that's helpful for me to know who you are, who's all here. If you're a member of the Institute, go ahead and let me know. If you're a member of the Guidance Gang and you're in the classroom, go ahead and let me know so I can, so we can see who our members are here today. We did announce this first. Let me just start with the live so everybody knows I'm here. Let's do that first. So there we go. We did, I did announce this, release this first to members, so I like to keep the webinars in a manageable space so that I can deal with everybody, all the numbers that come in, be able to communicate to folks and doesn't get overwhelming, especially when I'm just manning the event and my assistant isn't in town, which is now, it's just me over here, no assistant. I'm all free willy-nilly. So, hey y'all, hello. So for those of you that are in the classroom, if you're in online, if you're in Instagram or Facebook and you're watching this live, come on and join us in the classroom. If you registered for the event already, you should have been able to register. If not, check your email because it's only available to those of you that are on my mailing list or in the memberships. You can also go on Patreon and get the link there. Those of you that are in the classroom, though, do go ahead and introduce yourself. Let me know who you are, where you're from, how you found me, and if you want to share your social media in the chat, be original. The link didn't work. I'm live in there right now. There are people in the classroom right now with me. I'm just coming over here so I can kind of make sure that everybody's there. Can you try the link again? It's working now because I know I have people in the classroom that are chatting with me. So, and if you're on Patreon, I'm putting the link right now in Patreon. You should have been able to register through Patreon, but and just in case you didn't, I just want to do this technical bit before we get started with the juicy bits of the class. So if you are logged on, hey, if you're logged on to Patreon, if you're a member, then you should be able to access the live stream there. Let me see if I can make this work. Boom. Yep, there it is. So, let me just see here. So all patrons at the founder level and above now can watch the live stream actually from Patreon. There you go. So that's in there. So even if you don't have access to the link, you should still be able to access in Patreon. And I think we are all G now. So folks are trickling in. I see Stacy is here. Hey, Stacy. You're not a member yet. That's fine. Welcome, welcome. And the rest of you, go ahead and jump on into the classroom. We're going to go over 7 ways to unleash your authentic self using tantric principles. So come on and join us if you're not already. Get signed up or run into Patreon so that you can have access to the live stream. We'll be starting in a few minutes. Okay? Bye. All right, those folks are. We did the due diligence for the people who are jumping over. Let me just make sure that everyone has access slowly. So like I said, we originally said yesterday it was at 7, and today we said 7:30 on the YouTube link. So just want to make sure that we're all here. So we'll go slow in the beginning. Hi D. D, you're from Georgia and you are a guest. Yay, friend. Okay. The link is broken. That's the problem. Okay, thank you for that information. So I'm just gonna jump while you guys are introducing yourself in the chat. I'm gonna jump over to Eventbrite and make sure that everyone has the actual link, because with 140 people registered and 4 people in the room, that explains everything, doesn't it? So let's just get through this technical bit, and we shall go from there. See about me. Okay, emails to attendees. Oh, it does say 7:30 in the Eventbrite as well. I just got started out extra early. That's why I got a little excited. Okay, that makes me feel better. Let me just put this in here. Join us now. And the link was broken. YouTube link was broken. Okay, that's good. That's better. Email schedule. Let me just fix all of these links. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know that that's what the deal was, though, because that's really important. For those of you that are kind of popping in, I see we're getting the numbers are starting to pick up. So for those of you that are popping in, just go ahead and introduce yourself. I see what the deal is. It like copied twice, that's why. Okay, cool. Let me do that, save. And this, we get all this technical stuff out the way pretty early, and then we don't have to worry about it. Edit. better. Okay, yay. All right, Stacy. Hi, Stacy. You went to one of my events. There you go. D, I fixed the link. Thank you very much. Hi, Shauna. Thank you for letting me know that you had to copy and paste the link. I did fix it. Hey, Eden. You are a guest for now, but you're like family around these parts. Welcome back. It's good to see you. Dana, also in DMV. See, I need to get back to DMV. I always have so many people in the DMV area. And Ryan, hello from New Jersey. All right, we'll give other folks just a few more minutes to trickle into the room, and then we'll get started on tonight's event. I have a great class planned for you with a lot of yummy information. So I would love for you to take a few minutes and grab a notebook, or to get your, your notepad opened, or your Microsoft Word open, or whatever it is, so that you can take some notes today, and so that you can start to jot down some questions. Sometimes questions arise from classes like this, and maybe you don't want to share it in the chat room, but things that you can always bring up later in another class, or that you can bring up in a one-on-one and a consult with me. Just let me know, okay? Okay. Felicia from South Carolina. Hey, Felicia. Where in South Carolina are you from? And if for those of you that have jumped in, if you don't mind, also just letting me know how you found me as well. I would love to hear how, for those of you who haven't mentioned it yet, how you found me. Eden, I hope you're here soon. You know the Tantra Festival is in like 1 month, so I'm hoping that we see you very soon. Let me know if you're going to be joining us for the Tantra Fest. Hi, is that Denike? Did I say that right? Denike, I'm not sure. I'm happy that you made it too. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the room, how we should refer to you. Let us know. I mean, I will just refer to you by name because that's easy for me, but if you want to throw your pronouns in there as well. Okay, from Cleveland on my podcast. Yay. That's good to hear. I'm glad that you found me on the podcast. I have like episodes I need to upload, so we'll get that out there soon. Okay, we got more Ohio in the house. Shauna and Denise are both from Ohio, so we're kind of all over. That's good. Hopefully I'll get to meet all of you in person. Hey, Derek. Oh, yay, Bree put you on. I love Bree so much. I'm so glad that she put you on. And that you've been to. Which Tantra Tuesday class have you come to? Was it Face Sitting? Let me know which one you came to. I'm glad that Bree has introduced me to so many amazing people in Atlanta. It's such a blessing to meet her. When I moved here 2.5 years ago, Bree was one of the first people that I met coming to my classes, and it's just been awesome ever since. So, right here, that. Hey, Jamaica from North Carolina. No. Oh, pleasure mapping. That's Tassani's favorite class. So I'm glad that you got to come to that class. That's a really, really good one. Felicia, you found me on Instagram. Yay. Okay, cool. I'm glad. I'm so grateful for Instagram. A lot of people will talk smack about social media, but I'm very, very grateful for the way in which it's allowed me to kind of connect with people from all over the country and the world, really. So that's been really just super profound and lovely for me. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit just about who I am while we wait for folks to jump in. And I'm going to let this be an opportunity for those of you that are jumping in still just to continue to introduce yourself in the chat room, or in the chat box. I am Amina, obviously, but I moved here to Atlanta December 31st of 20, what year are we in, 19? So 2017. So I've been here for 2018, 2019. No, 2016. It's all a blur. December 31st of 2016. So I've been here for 2.5 years. And I moved here from Hawaii. And I did not think I was going to stay. I was coming. My mother had a heart attack. She's fine now, but she had another heart attack, and it was terrifying. And Hawaii is so far away, and so I was devastated. I didn't want to leave the islands, as no one ever does. And I definitely didn't want to leave the islands in my mind for the South. That was just something that I was like, not going to happen. And I moved here. Hey, Quentin. I moved here with the anticipation, with the plan to just be here briefly and then to move away. And that just didn't happen. I learned so much about myself, about about community, about building and growing community and moving into community that I couldn't have learned anywhere else. I'm in love with Atlanta, so this is like very much a forever home, even if it's just forever part-time, because I'm a snowbird. So if it continues getting cold in the winter in Atlanta, I probably will continue to not spend my winters here. But I really love Atlanta, and it's allowed me to do way more. I did not think that my work would go over well here in the South, first of all. In the Bible Belt, in the conservative South, I thought all this free talk about sex and my nipples out every chance I get and all of that, I just didn't see any potential for that here. And I was wrong. I just got back this weekend from Sex Down South, and there's a thriving, growing, beautiful community of folks that are here in the South that are doing the work, that are excited about being free and living authentically, and all the ways that means, all the ways that shows up. And so it's just been an experience, and I'm in love, and I can't wait to expand and grow some more. After working with my own practice for 1.5 years, I launched the Atlanta Tantra Festival, which was kind of the seed project for the Institute. And here we are, 1 year later, in the Institute, with a full-time location, with classes weekly, and they're growing. We're getting more and more classes and bringing more teachers in. We have meditation, Tai Chi, yoga, and then we also have a healing space. We have practitioners that work out of this space to offer healing in a variety of ways, from pranic energy healing, Reiki, sensual touch, erotic touch, you name it, counseling, coaching. We have just this beautiful wide variety of healing experiences being offered here, and it's just been fucking amazing. And so I'm so happy to have this community here. Hi, Cynthia from Texas, and Amina. Is that my Amina? There's been, since Jessica, hey, there's this, it's so funny. When I first moved here, I would get all this people that never heard the name Amina before, and it's the most common name in the world for women, I think, after Mary. And this week alone, I've been around so many Aminas here in Atlanta. I think we are now coming together as an Amina community. So y'all watch out. We're going to have like a team of Aminas around here. But welcome, Amina, Riri. So yeah, anyway, that's me. That's what I do. So now I've been here. I have a training program. We have our level 1 certification, which we just wrapped up again, and we launch a new one in November. That's a 10-week certification program that creates practitioners. Excuse me. Whew. All right, let me get that out. That creates practitioners. So we have that going on. Level 2 is also starting in November. I have enough graduates from level 1, so now we're moving into level 2. Level 2 is a completely different class. It's the work of the sex doula. It's training a little bit more professional and in-depth training on sex coaching from the perspective of a life coach. So we're moving, this is for people that want to move into a practice that looks a little bit more like mine, where I do a lot more coaching around sex and sexuality as it relates to your whole life. So the practice that I have is a holistic one that looks at the way that you eat, what kind of movement you're engaging in, what kind of relationships you're moving in and out of, what you want from your relationships, how to find more fulfilling relationships, how to find more fulfilling sexual experiences, all of that. So yeah. Hi, Joy. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know where you're all coming in from. And welcome, welcome, welcome to the classroom. So, okay. So, here we are, about 5 minutes before everybody should be finally getting into the room. And see, we have more folks that are here now, so we can kind of get started. So that's me. That's what we do here at the Institute. That's what I do full time. And if you have any questions about that, again, you can always throw them in the chat room, or you can save them for later and schedule some time to sit with me, and I'll gladly answer them for you. Today, like I said, we're going over 7 tantric ways to unleash an authentic you. While we just have a couple more minutes, let me just also share with you what the Institute's mission and goal is for those of you who don't know and haven't come yet. Hey, Shamara. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yay. All right. From and in Atlanta. All right, Joy. So the Atlanta Institute of Tantra and Divine Sexuality is a non-profit organization. We are registered as a church. We are a nonprofit religious organization, and we're the only nonprofit religious organization in the world that centers Black women and our pleasure. So while we are rooted in Tibetan Tantric tradition, our goal is to perpetuate the advancement of love in the community simply by being love. We realize that as Black women, we are the movers and shakers of the world. We will look to us no matter where we go around the world for representations in culture and things, as kind of the beacon of culture, and that we have an opportunity to exist in a way that is very healing for us, and that also is very healing for our community at large. And here at the Institute, we use touch, wellness, and sexuality to work to dissolve fear and create fearless relationships with ourselves and with others, and increase our natural ability to love. So that's our official mission statement, with some ad lib in it. Hi, Saucha. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So that's who we are. That's what we do. And I'll go over some opportunities just to kind of talk to you about at the end of this. If you stay all the way through the end, about ways to become a member if you're not already a member. And also, I have a special promotion for those of you who are interested at the end. And I'll talk a little bit more about the Tantra Festival. So let's get started. I think it's 7:30, 7:29, close enough. All right. So I want to start with just kind of a conversation about what Tantra is, what Tantra is, however you say it. I'm from the Midwest, so I say Tantra all the time. If you were saying it in Sanskrit with a good dialect, a good accent, it's definitely pronounced Tantra. But we do a lot of from the Midwest. I was born in Chicago, and that just doesn't leave me, so I put it in all kind of words. But Tantra, it is a Sanskrit word, and we use a lot of these Sanskrit words when we are speaking in Tantra and speaking in yoga and meditation, simply because, not to sound like we are holier than thou or know more than anybody else, but really because English is a limited, broke language. It is, variations of other languages kind of coming together, and it really is not complete. So we don't have a lot of ways to say the words that we mean which is a whole host of problems for that throat chakra and communication. And so when we look at these words that we get from Sanskrit, when we think, okay, I'll just translate it to English, by the time we finish translating it, we really have become pretty verbose, right? So we have this long, these long drawn out definitions of Sanskrit words, and it just doesn't make it very helpful or accessible. So when we're talking about Tantra, we're talking about a spiritual practice, a philosophy. It is not a religion at all. The word Tantra itself, it's a two-part word, and the first part, tan, means to expand or to join or to weave, and the second part, tra, is more commonly translated as a tool. So the word is, in a nutshell, you'll hear me always say that Tantra means liberation, and what it really, when you break it down this way, it really means that it's a tool to expand or to liberate, and to bring together. So Tantra is just, it's a blanket term. And a lot of people hear Tantra, they think freaky-deaky sex and sensuality and all of these things. And those can all be very much a part of Tantra, because Tantra is embodiment. It's about embodiment. It's about energy. And as embodied folks, when you work within the body, you are looking at all the tools that we have access to within our body. And one of those tools is definitely sexual power. It's definitely sexual energy. So, so that we don't take away from that. And I don't defend or, defend against when people say, well, it's sexual in nature, because we are sexual in nature. We are sexual beings naturally. And that's just the way it is. Hi, Jeff from Dallas, and hi, Derek. I'm glad you guys are all chiming in now. Okay, cool. So I just want to have that little kind of icebreaker out just about Tantra, because I'm going to be talking about ways to unleash the authentic you, and I think it's really important that we look at it through this beautiful purple lens of Tantra, understanding that these are things, these 7 steps that I'm going to give you today are things that you can do. First of all, you may be already doing some of them, and that's great. So maybe we're going to expand on some of that. But second of all, these are not one-offs. It's not something you're going to do tomorrow and you're like, okay, I did it and it's fixed. These are ongoing practices that you get to do every day, bring into your world all the time as a conscious way of living in a tantric space. So we'll talk about that. The first thing, the easiest thing, well, I won't say the easiest. The first thing that we can do, and the thing that we have the most power to do. So when I say easy, I don't mean that it's like without work or without hardship. I mean that we have this immense power that's running through us that's designed specifically for this purpose. And we just have to tap in and access it. So that first thing is to release shame. Now you know why I said I'm not going to say it's easy. And before we go on to that, I just want to ask you all if you could all take a few moments, just kind of run through your head and think about some of the things that come to mind, the words that come to mind when you hear the word shame, and just throw them in the chat room. These could be feelings that come up when you hear the word shame. These could be things you want to do, like maybe hiding or shutting down or disappearing when you hear the word shame, or things that you think your body does, like contract or shrink when you hear the word shame. Emotions, all of that. I want to know what your thoughts are on the word shame. So go ahead and let's see if you could throw some of those in and into the chat room as we kind of go through this portion on shame, just so that we can see, because thoughts are things, and we're really controlled by our thoughts in so many ways, and sometimes we can become prisoners to our thoughts, and that's an unfortunate reality. But it's what happens, right? Our thoughts can either liberate us and create the life that we want to exist in, or they can hold us down and imprison us in ways that we never even believed possible. So I see guilt, hiding, sadness, embarrassment. Yeah, those are all things that shame does. And these words, trauma, damaged goods, exposed, fear and pain and loneliness, all of these things are things that, you know, as you start to hear these words, your body has a reaction to them, right? When we say it out loud, sometimes we can feel the reaction a little bit differently. When I say guilt consciousness, when I say damaged goods, these are things that, you know, when you hear the word triggering, these are things that kind of sit in us and we feel them. But it's only because we say it and now we're completely facing that moment of the vocal vibration that saying the words do. Hi, Katiana. Katiana says playing small, betraying self, being shy, hiding, trapped in my head, cowardness, retreat. All of these are things, right? Sin, embarrassment. Sin is a big one with shame. And all of these are things that just live in the body. So when we don't say them and we still feel them as thoughts, we still experience these things as thoughts. And the thoughts they create things in our body. They create a space in our body where we have room to heal from. And so I'm going to give you a few steps. And don't worry, I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you as well. So if you, as long as you register for this class or you're on Patreon, you'll get this PowerPoint with the notes. But it's really good if you take some notes too, because most of my PowerPoint stuff is just going to be bulleted. So first things first, you want to contact your inner mind. So wait, let me just back up. There's 4 steps that we're going to do. And these are 4 steps that I typically would do with a client. But I want you to feel empowered to do them with yourself. It's obviously going to be easier when you have a guide. It's going to help you through. But that's not always necessary. And a lot of times we can start doing some of the work on our own. So the first is you want to contact your inner mind. And what does that look like? Quite simply, it's meditation. Contacting your inner mind simply means slowing down and going inward, observing, paying attention. And what you're doing in this contact is you're going to find a space where you can sit quietly on a regular basis and find the nature or the onset of the shame, whatever shame. And we have so many things to unpack that this is literally an ongoing experience. This is something that we practice every day, every week, every month. And you will continue to find ways that shame will show up in your mind and in your body. And it's important that we sit and we go inward and ask our mind, where is this coming from? Where are we first exposed to this idea that led to shame? How did we get here? What is the nature of the particular shame that you're dealing with in that moment? And then, so that's step 1, contact your inner mind. And this is a tried and true healing method that I learned, that I share with other people when they're with me in session, but that you can do with yourself as well. Visualization is the second step. And in the visualization, you want to find mental pictures that show your mind, show your inner self what shame-free looks like. So whatever that object of shame is, whatever that moment or that thing that you can attribute shame is to, or shamefulness to, that you find an opposing item. You find some other energy, some other. One of my favorite things is Rihanna, because so much of what she does, the way that she moves, just is so beautifully shame-free that I oftentimes will find myself channeling my inner Rihanna or looking to her for as a mental picture. I had a lot of shame, for example, around my chest. I grew up, I got breasts really early, and they were beautiful when I got older, and I was able to use them in a way that necessarily wasn't for me, but I still had a lot of shame, especially around people who I wasn't trying to woo with them, if you will. And just existing with my breast was something that I hadn't actually given myself a chance to do. And so Rihanna was a mental picture that I would use to show my mind what shame-free could look like, and just to use things like that to remind the mind. The third thing is to offer yourself healing. And I like to paint a treasure map when I offer myself healing in this way. And my treasure map is like one of those X marks the spots kind of thing, where you see exactly where you need to return to for this type of healing. So as you start to do the work and start to do the healing, that you kind of designate a space in the mind, a set of things that you're going to do, whether it's breathing techniques or movement or stillness, that allow you to return to that space where healing takes place, where you've allowed healing to take place, because that memory lives in the mind and the body as well. And then finally, the fourth is to see yourself fully healed. That is the most powerful part. So give yourself a moment where you see yourself fully free from that shame, and allow yourself to have that memory, and allow that memory to live in the body, because all of our memories live in the body. And right now it's a really good chance that we're allowing some memories that don't necessarily need to be there to live pretty fully and pretty rent-free. So we're going to change that. Okay? If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the box. But that's our first step. So our first step of the 7 is to release shame. The second step, and this one I think is the most difficult, is forgiveness. We learn to forgive. And I think it's the most difficult because when I talk about forgiveness, well, what do you think of when you think about forgiveness? What makes forgiveness so hard? There's a bit of humility that comes with forgiveness. And there's also this thing that we do when we forgive, which is really focusing on the person that's done the harm, which is not always the healthiest thing for us. And especially in healing, right? Where you're not actually leaving from that space of harm. You're just kind of sitting in it. So I like to approach forgiveness completely different in this model anyway. For me, I want to center the victim in forgiveness. So I want to forgive myself. And this is not like victim mentality. This is also not victim blaming. It's just somewhere that's in neither one of those zones. It's allowing me to forgive myself in a variety of different ways. This allows me to not have to center anyone else that has done harm to me, that I may feel like I was harmed by, but just to forgive myself and communicate to my body that forgiveness is available to me from the experience, whatever that experience is, whatever these experiences are. There's a few things that I really want you to focus on in your forgiveness. One is, and again, this is not victim blaming, but forgiving yourself for allowing someone to mistreat you is so reassuring to the body. So, and I say this because there are a lot of ways in which we are violated in the world, and all of them, many times, are not anything that we could have done differently, right? But a lot of things that we have done, that we are still holding on to, we had some control over. There are a lot of ways in which we don't listen to our intuition. There are a lot of ways in which we don't listen to our spidey sense, if you will, or that we don't trust ourselves when we do hear the intuition. We don't trust ourselves when we make decisions, and so we dilly-dally and then we make a poor decision. And so sometimes just forgiving yourself for allowing, I'm sorry that I didn't trust my first mind. I'm sorry that I didn't go with my gut. I'm sorry that I didn't listen to my intuition. I'm sorry that I have become disconnected with my body, and I'm unable to really hear what my body is telling me to keep me safe. And I will pay more attention. So that's a forgiveness method that I do often with a meditation that I do often with myself. and it's reassuring to the body. It lets the body know that, don't worry, I'm going to listen to you. Don't shut down on me. Don't give up on me yet. I'm going to pay attention to you. I'm learning. I'm relearning. I'm relearning. The second way to forgive is, and this is really important, was really important for me, and maybe you see yourself in this also, but forgiving yourself for the ill way that you treated someone else, or that you were to someone else that you loved. And that could be anything. It doesn't have to be something as grave as infidelity or physical abuse. And it could be as small as white lies that you told. But let me tell you how these things that we do to someone that we love, how that shows up in our ability to receive love as a major blockage to our heart chakra. When we do commit any ills towards someone that we love, we tell our body to stop trusting. Because how can you trust anyone when you know that you're not worthy of trust? And so it's really important that we slow down and sit with ourselves in forgiveness meditations, allowing ourselves to forgive our own selves for the fucked up shit that we've done to other people that we loved, whether intentional or unintentional, whether we did it to be wrong to them, or it just happened that it was very hurtful and we didn't expect that kind of response. That we forgive ourselves. A lot of times they've forgiven us and moved on, and in our body we're still harboring this just ill will towards our own selves. And this is not going to, it just doesn't create space for you to love. And ultimately, in order for you to have that true, authentic expression of yourself, you have to be open to the one thing you were put here on this planet to do, and that is to be loved. Okay, so that's item 2. So we're releasing shame and working through forgiveness. Shola Awewa, who wrote Open to Spirit, she writes about four steps of forgiveness. And I love to read this because it's so important to me. And you can find it in her book, Opening to Spirit. And I think it's in a couple of her other books too, little snippets of it. But the first thing you do, there's 4 steps in forgiveness. And one is to regain your power. And this is important because when you are harboring these things that need to be released, like, they take up energy, they take up time, they take up space in your heart. So identifying that, like, how much of that is being just absorbed by something else or someone else, how it's draining you, how it's taking from you, and regaining your power by acknowledging how much of it is being taken away by something is really important. The second step is to reflect. That's just kind of looking back, allowing negative energy to move away from you, seeing yourself in light, letting go of things that don't serve you, and paying attention to where those things came from and why you were holding on to it. Step 3 is recognizing universal love. And this is important whether you're forgiving yourself or someone else. It's just to constantly remind yourself that we are all universal love. Like, that's why we're here. We're all capable of giving it. We're all worthy of receiving it. And nothing is going to change that. Not one thing will ever change that. Your inability to believe that doesn't change its reality. You may not believe you have kidneys, but they're still there unless you had a kidney surgery. Like, that's just how it is, right? So this is the same thing with universal love. And then the 4th step is just to forgive and let go. And I say, like, just to forgive and let go. Like, it's that easy. And I know it's not. This is a constant work in progress. But you can do the work by feeling like just sitting in a space where you're allowing yourself to release, release, release. If you're not already trying this, don't discount it. Of course, everything that I do and everything that I've learned, while I think it's tried and true, it's not to say maybe it won't work for you. But if you're sitting there and you're skeptical and you're like, yeah, okay, you make it sound real easy, what I'm going to tell you is try it. Go ahead, give yourself a break, set yourself a timer, a reminder on your iPhone or on your Android or whatever technology that you have in your hand at all times, and go with it with the same energy that you go with social media. Just try it every day to sit in a space where you're allowing yourself to forgive something and see how that changes you. The problem is that we get discouraged because we're so used to everything coming so quickly, and we're skeptical because nothing else seems to be working. But we might not be trying everything else as fully as we could. It's not to say that you might need something else as well. There's all kind of ways to work on forgiveness. There's stones, there's meditations, there's exercises, there's healing touch, and somatic therapy. But these are some pretty basic tools that you can do right in your living room. But you can't just do them once and then be like, all right, that didn't work, so don't do it like that, okay? All right. Let's see. So that's step 3. Two. Shame, releasing shame, and forgiveness is step 2. Step 3, and this is by far my favorite, and it's also the thing that I end up having to do so much, and that's releasing clutter. Getting rid of the clutter in your world is so important. And I don't just mean like the junk around your house, but if you have a lot of shit around your house, let's start there. Look around right now, look around wherever you're at, and in the chat room, I want you to write one thing that you know that you need to get rid of in that room. One thing that you don't need to have in that room. It's probably someone else's blessing. Someone else needs it, but you're holding on to it like, there's an old song, an old blues song that says, if I ever get my hand on $1 again, I'm going to hold on to it to the eagle grins. And that's what we do with stuff, like shit. It's nothing that we need, but we experience loss, and so we need to hold on to these things because they make us feel like we're okay, because we didn't grieve the loss properly. So I want you to look around and just let me know what you think you can let go of, and maybe meditate on it and release it from your space. But I want you to know that this doesn't just apply to shit that we have around our rooms or shit that we have on our desk or whatever it is. This also applies to friends, because there's some people that you're holding on to that are not your friends, but you decided they are, or they've been around for a long time and they're not actually healthy for you. Lovers, fucks. I love The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck. If you haven't read it, this is not The Subtle Art. This is The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck. It's written by Sarah Knight, and it's a parody on Marie Kondo's book, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and it is fucking hilarious. But one of the things she talks about is compartmentalizing your fucks and decluttering them and realizing that you're giving way too many fucks in way too many spaces. And remember I told you that thoughts are things? And so all these thoughts that we're giving and too many fucks that we're giving in our head, these are things that we need to declutter too. Sometimes we have to declutter our calendar. We just have too many commitments that we're making to people, and it's not healthy for us. And everything is energy. And so when you start looking at all the things that are occupying your space, your mind, your calendar, your bed, your phone, you start realizing that a lot of the stuff isn't really serving you. It's not of any benefit to you. You're just holding on to them. So as you start to release them, you'll start to experience energy different. You'll see how much energy you actually have and how much energy you were expending that you didn't need to expend. We tend to run pretty low on energy, and sometimes we can actually be like overloaded on energy, especially when we have a lot of things around. So decluttering is my favorite power down technique, like when we just have too much. And when you look at our current society, we are really anxiety ridden, and that's just that overcharge of energy that we're feeling all over, and it does have a chemical response in our bodies. we are affected by everything. I mean, you cannot negate that. I mean, the human body has so much water that everything is going to create a vibration that's going to affect that water. So decluttering will really help with that. Let's see what we're getting rid of. Let me look in the chat. Katiana, she's way too many fucks. Quentin is getting rid of some paperwork, clothes. Yes, I understand that. Boxes from my move. Yes, Felicia, let's get rid of these. Let's get rid of these boxes. And some clothes and some friends. Amina, these empty water bottles have got to go. Yes, let's get rid of this shit. Cynthia, you and me both with these two small clothes. I had to, I'm so glad my niece was here. Because I was able to give them all to her. So that's really important. Old male. Dana, let that shit go. Cynthia, I can't even speak on books. You know how I am with books, so I can't even offer you any advice in healing around that. I need like therapy for books. So, but I feel you. I understand. I have books I don't need anymore. And I'm never going to be a personal trainer again. I'm giving up on that, but I'm holding on to those personal trainer books from like 20 years ago. It's not even the same material anymore. So here I am teaching, and then you just taught me. Oh, yeah. Oh, good, Dan. Those are good friends. I love that. Yeah, so let's work on getting rid of some of this shit that we have. And the clothing, I think, is really important for us to realize that in this society where there's so much commercialism, first of all, we're not wearing those clothes again. Like, they're out of style, or they're just not as trendy for many of us, if you are one of these clothes people. But there's still something to someone else. And so I really feel like a lot of times you're blocking your own blessings when you hold on to clothing, when you hold on to things that you no longer wear because you think you might need it one day. There's something about that that's very root chakra oriented. But giving from that space is so healing to the heart chakra. So please, if you can. And we're moving into winter. It's going to get cold, and people will be needing some of those coats and clothes. So so offer yourself the opportunity to heal not only yourself, but the community with that. Which it's a great segue for the next item, which is to create. So we've gone through releasing shame, forgiveness, decluttering, and this is important. I want you to go ahead and jot down, let me know when was the last time that you created something, and what was it? Excuse me. Because we live in a consumer's paradise. Everything here is designed for the consumer. So what happens? We lose touch with our sacral chakra, which has been shut down in this society anyway. It's our pleasure center, our sexual center. We're constantly being told what we are and are not supposed to do with it. And outside of the function of usually creating children, many of us don't create anything anymore. So I want you to think about when was the last time you created something, and contrast that to how much you consume, from film to theater, visual arts, music, podcasts, books, even religion. All of these things we're constantly in consumption of and never creating. We're not putting enough out. So we're the society of consumers and not creators, and that creates a great imbalance in the world, but it particularly creates a great imbalance within ourselves. And we use Tantra differently. In Tantra, we realize our power to create is our power to transform. And the sacral chakra is where change lives. And so this allows us to transform ourselves in a lot of ways, but very importantly from consumer to creator. And as a creator, it's not just in the arts, but also in the way that we live our own lives. It's creation is also manifestation. And so when you start to create again and again, you start to realize who the fuck you are and how powerful you are, how amazing it is to just create things. If you are, whether that's whatever it is, there's a whole list of things you can be creating. But get to creating, and try to make it a regular practice of creation. Let's see, what kind of creators do I have in the room today? Oh, nice, Amina, with your own Florida rider. Go ahead, get it, girl. I love that. Felicia, you right? Okay, so you'll start and stop. So what I like to do when this is just me, just my own helpful hint. What I like to do when I get to a point where I can't write is I check in on how much I've been masturbating, because I find that the more I masturbate, the more creative I am. Right? Because you're creating that energy from the sacral chakra. Also, dance. A lot of dancing in between writing will help to build that up. Right, and it's a little, only such a little bit in comparison to how much we consume, right? I mean, it really is, and that's not how it's supposed to be. We're not designed that way to let somebody else create everything for us. What's happening when we do that is that we have relinquished control, which is interesting in this world full of control freaks, that we're allowing everything else to be created for us with no input at all whatsoever. Writing, cooking, gardening. Those are three good ones. Katiana, continue. Dana created a panel event. There you go, Dana. That's good. So yeah, just continue to create and create every damn day. Every day, try to create something. Whether that's just a vibrational energy or sound in the room. Tibetan singing bowls are great ways to just practice on creating something every day. Instruments are great ways to create. If you're not playing an instrument, go get one. Practice on it. Create sound. There's ways in which you can create every day that will help to create a space where you know how powerful you are. You're reminded of it constantly, and you start moving more towards who you're supposed to be. All right. So we have shame, releasing shame, forgiveness, decluttering, creating, eating. That's number 5. Let me tell you how hard it is to truly be in any way authentic when you are not loving yourself with the way that you consume food. Now, there are some foods that are amazing to the taste buds. And I understand that we go after these foods repeatedly sometimes. This is the big one, especially here in the West, that we really take some time to consider what we're putting into our bodies and start eating for our soul, eating for the design that we're supposed to be. It's hard for us to talk about all this divinity and all this amazing human capacity, and then to put in like the cheapest gas and the cheapest oil in this fucking Bugatti that I don't even know if that's really a good car, I just know it's a song. But in this, premier premier vehicle that we're roaming through the earth with. So learning how to eat for the chakras, or eating with the chakras in mind, learning how to eat in a way that limits the amount of harm that you do in the world. It's one of the things, and just to go back to the forgiveness component, is one of the other meditations that I often do on forgiveness is I just sit and look at how I've harmed and forgiving myself for that harm, so that I don't allow myself to be harmed, right? This shows up in the way that we eat, because a lot of the times we eat in a way that's so harmful to ourselves or to the planet, or to other creatures, that we don't tend to trust anymore. We lose all trust in our ability to be whole and healthy humans. How can I trust myself if I'm constantly poisoning myself? I get it. We're going to do things. I had Cinnaholic yesterday. I understand. For those of you that don't know what Cinnaholic is, it's a vegan cinnamon roll company here in Atlanta, and it's ridiculous. But once every blue moon, I eat it. I eat a Cinnaholic. I don't eat a perfect diet. I'm trying. These are steps that we make just to honor our body and remind ourselves that we are worthy of the best food, and we're worthy of treating ourselves with such special care. How can I move in the world and expect the world to treat me with care when I'm not treating myself or the world with care? How does that work? So I say this is a hard one because is because it's really, in this society, I mean, even for those that are moving into a plant-based diet now, there's Kentucky Fried Chicken that has plant-based, and there's Burger King that has plant-based, and all these things that are like, maybe we're moving into a space where we're not harming the environment as much, but then we're still at a space where we're thinking more about the environment than our own bodies, and so we're still just consuming garbage. Or maybe when we're not plant-based and we're eating animal meat or dairy or whatever the case may be, and we're not paying attention to what's in it, what kind of chemicals the animals have been raised on, or what kind of traumas the animals are going through. And so when we consume that, instead of, because it's cheap and convenient, instead of buying directly from farmers or whatever the case may be, we're not eating diets that are rich enough in vegetables. Even the plant-based folks who are eating diets that are without animal byproducts, but are still just consuming food of convenience all the time. There's no way to move into this space where you're happy and fully ecstatic when you have inflammation in the body and hormones that are moving. Insulin and estrogen are homies. You're fucking up your insulin, you're fucking up your estrogen. I know so many people who have coached through PCOS and gotten them to a space of healing in their wombs, because so much of it came from the sugar that was in their diets. So all of these things are just things for us to keep in mind, as far as how do I get to be this divine being that I'm supposed to be? How am I supposed to be ecstatic and orgasmic and all of these things when I don't have enough hydration or the proper nutrients in my body, and I have to take medication to regulate my hormones, and I have to take I'm fatigued, and I'm not living my fully authentic self. I'm not having that life that I desire. So eating for the soul. So we have releasing shame is first, forgiveness is second, decluttering is third, creating is fourth, and eating is fifth. We have 2 more to go. All right, these are the 2 heavy ones. Let me take a sip. All right, so the sixth one is holding your own hand. We need to start holding our own hand. It is so hard for us to move in this life when we are relying on someone else to hold our hands through every step. Self-love is a daily practice. Self-care is a daily practice. We have to do these things for ourselves. We devote so much time to other people, but we expect other people to devote so much time to ourselves, and we just live in this bubble of disappointment and sadness and depression and anxiety, and there's no way to experience any level of authenticity when we're just constantly falling into these states. And a lot of it is because we're not allowing ourselves to sit in our own emotions. We're so ready to heal and be strong instead of just sitting there in it and experiencing what our emotions are, understanding how to navigate them, explaining them to the body, reassuring the body from them. Like, there's all these processes that we're skipping just to prove that we can survive, instead of holding our own hand and sitting through things. We don't manage our own feelings. We spend so much time in the management of other feelings. We're like general managers of everything else except for our own feelings. And it's really important for us to love ourselves fiercely, freely, and without doubt, that we manage just our own feelings. This is so important, especially as we move into number 7, which is pleasure and pain. As we manage our own feelings and our own emotions, then we start to see and really truly understand the things that are making us feel good, which then allows us to center our own pleasure, which is number 7. Number 7 is understanding pleasure and pain And a lot of us, I mean, we identify both, but a lot of us have a way better relationship with pain than we do with pleasure. It is our birthright to feel pleasure and to be ecstatic. This is a part of the authentic you that you deserve to be, that you should be, that you should be striving for, but we don't really know pleasure well enough. Think about the things that you've experienced, and when you start to do the tallying, you're way more familiar with the painful things, the sadness, the dark memories, than you are with those luminous, bright colored light energies, the true happiness that you're designed to experience. So it's really important that you take some time to identify both. And I always like to say to journal about pleasure every day. Just to spend some time doing a mental recall on what was pleasurable, so that you can start to bring that shit to the center. Once you center your own pleasure, there is nothing that will be taken away from you. And that's when you're truly living in your authentic self. So all those other 6 steps are just designed to get you here, to this space where you center your own pleasure. There's some heart and throat chakra healing that can happen in this space, for both communicating your own pleasure with the throat chakra. Once you understand what it is, having the ability to communicate that to yourself, to the people around you, is key. And having the ability to open up for the experience through the heart chakra is also key. It also will help you decenter the pain. Right now we have that kind of in the middle, and we just switch that out. We know pain exists. When we understand that we're going to survive, we know how to live in that space. So now let's learn how to operate in a different space where pleasure is at the center. Tantra is about connection. And the more that you tune in with your body, learn about what gives it pleasure, how it experiences pleasure, that changes the way in which you move in life. It changes the amount of money you get. It changes how you manifest things. It changes what your needs are. Everything shifts just a little bit at first, but then you start to see this like a waterfall of change, which is what I want you to experience. And the goal is just to relax and expand into that pleasure. So let me see if there are any questions real quick. Oh yeah, Felicia. A lot of us, I'm going to tell you, Felicia, I just see your comment that's where your shame lies in feeling pleasure. And that's why we started with shame and we come back full circle to pleasure, because that's not abnormal. That's a lot of us. And we've been trained that way. We've been trained that it's better to give than to receive, which everybody that comes to my classes knows. I think that's the biggest lie in America. Well, one of the biggest lies in America. It is not better to give than to receive. That's not even the quote. The original quote says it's better to be in a place where you can give than to be in a place where you need to receive. That's different, right? You get to experience pleasure, and especially as for women of color, we've been constantly told, or people of color, for black women especially, time after time again, we've been told that we should do something else before our pleasure. For those of you that are mothers, you've been told this since you had a baby. And for those of you that are, trying to be mothers or have the goal of being mothers, from the time you get a baby doll in your hand, this is what we're told. And so this understanding that we get pleasure too it might be somewhat new to our bodies. Like we're retraining, we're relearning this reality in our bodies. And so it's really important that you spend some time with that, and you spend some time in that meditation, allowing yourself to really truly know that you're worthy of pleasure, and that you get to experience all the things that pleasure brings. I'm going to answer that question I saw. I just want to do a quick recap. Well, actually, let me see that question first. Let me go back. What is a good meditation practice for opening the heart and throat chakra to generate more pleasure at the center of our focus? So, Okay, I see two really good questions. Katiana, I'm going to start with yours. A really good meditation, well, there's a few. One, as you know, I believe in a daily masturbation practice. Now, this is not for orgasm, although orgasms are great, and I'm not saying don't orgasm. I'm just saying a daily meditation practice that allows you to access your pleasure is one. I'm sorry, masturbation practices, or they're both one and the same. Your daily meditation practice should include a masturbation. Should include a moment where you spend in self-love and worship, where you are allowing yourself to just feel pleasure, to seek out pleasure in the body. That's one really powerful way to just practice a meditation on a regular basis. Again, this does not have to be genital focused, so I want to be clear about that, because it doesn't matter what your relationship is with your genitals. I want you to build a relationship with pleasure. So masturbation does not have to be genital focused. It doesn't have to be friction oriented, and the goal is not orgasm. The goal is definitely not ejaculation. The goal is to bring up orgasmic energy in the body, and that's completely different. So I think that's a really important way to start with the meditation practice, and also moaning through that, like allowing your body to have access to that vibration that comes from moaning, that comes from just that orgasmic breathing. That also really helps open up the throat chakra. It allows you to hear yourself in pleasure, which is pretty huge, especially in a world where we're told to be quiet, especially in a world where we probably learned and started having sex in spaces where we had to keep it quiet. That we change the conversation that we have with our own body. The other thing I would recommend as a meditation practice for opening the heart and throat chakra is just mirror work, where you are communicating love to yourself and looking at yourself, honoring yourself in the mirror, and communicating all the love that you desire, all the love that you're worthy of, all the emotional clearing that you need while you're looking at your mirror and speaking out loud. That's those would be my first two. And Eden, your question: what do you suggest for survivors who experience flashbacks while attempting to access pleasure? Eden, I honestly suggest a healer for that. It's really hard to do that kind of work on your own. While it can be helpful, there are some tools and techniques that I offer to folks to do on their own. Again, the same meditation practice where you reframe the conversation with your body and with pleasure can help, but that's what somatic body work is for. It's really to realign the body's mind-body connection with touch, with sensuality, with the experience of pleasure, so that with someone that's trained and can guide you through that practice. Unfortunately, the way that trauma shows up in the body does create for a trauma response when we return to spaces where intimacy is. And that trauma showed up in intimacy, it will continue to show up in your intimacy until you do the work to heal through that. So that's my biggest suggestion. But and that doesn't have to be done in person. There are things that can be done through coaching as well. So it doesn't have to be so cost prohibitive or so far away. There is a book that I started recently called My Grandmother's Hands by Resma. I don't remember their last name, but it starts with an M. And that also, I found some of the exercises in that, even though it's about, most of that is about the trauma that we experience in racialized spaces. I find that to be also easily translatable into intimate trauma. So that can help too. Okay. Thanks, Eden. I'm glad that helped. So just to recap, we have 7 steps. Releasing shame is the first. Forgiving yourself is the second, or for working on forgiveness, but particularly forgiving yourself. Decluttering your world is the third. Create. Every day, create something. Eat for your soul. Hold your own hand and start to understand and access and center your own pleasure. So those are your 7 steps for 7 steps for moving yourself towards a more authentic you. So opening up to authentic you. So I thank you all for joining. We have a little bit of time left. So if you have some more questions, you can gladly throw them in. But while the questions are coming, I want to just let you know a couple of things. One, I would love for you to become a member. If you aren't already, you can join us as a member on Patreon. If you haven't gone to Patreon before, patreon.com is it's an art-based society, if you will, online, but it allows for folks to come in together into community. So I built a community on there that's just for us, and you can join for as little as $1 a month, but at different levels you start to see different things. So for instance, this class was live streamed for folks that are at the $25 level or higher, and they don't have to register. All the classes, a lot of classes are loaded up. They also get discounts. Some get free services depending on what level you're at. We have merchandise that comes out now. So we have some coffee mugs at certain levels. If you're $25 or higher, you get, I should have brought mine out, but you get a beautiful Atlanta Institute coffee mug with the elephant logo on it, with the Ganesha logo on it. We also have t-shirts, and we have tons of merchandise. It was so fun being at Sex Down South this weekend. But one of the things I noticed is that everybody was like, we want more merchandise. And the thing is, our merchandise goes really quickly when we get it. And I'm not trying to be a store, but I love the branding and I love seeing the merchandise out there in the street. We release first runs to the members on Patreon, and they go pretty quickly. So it's a great way to also make sure that you will have your big clit energy, or have your fuck it into existence, or whatever the case may be, whatever the shirt is that you're looking for that you see us out here rocking. That's first. Second is the Atlanta Tantra Festival is in like a month and a couple days. So I really hope to see you. For those of you that don't know, it's a 2-day, technically kind of 3-night festival. And it's here in the city in Atlanta. I'm very excited. We have actually moved it to a new location this year. And it's just going to be amazing. Tickets have been on sale since last year's festival, and we're at that point where we're kind of wrapping up stuff. Tickets, you cannot get tickets on the same day. We close off ticket sales in a month, so we close out ticket sales a few days before the festival, and we do that because you actually get fed 3 meals, so we have to make sure we have our final numbers in for catering. You get fed 3 meals while you're at the festival. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner is available to you. So at that, to me, that is covered in the cost, right? Already. I mean, you go get a vegan burger somewhere and you're paying $20. So this 2-day festival, you're getting 3 beautiful homemade vegan meals throughout the weekend. So that to me is already covered in I feel like it's worth it just for that. But on top of that, you get a host of teachers that are out that will help you with whatever it is you're trying to learn, from yoga to meditation to sacred sexuality, to transmutation, to tantric touch, to all these things that we do. It's just an amazing weekend of community. If you were there last year, let us know. It's really, go ahead and tell everybody how much fun you had. If you want to come this year, because you're on this live stream right now, you can use the code UNLEASH before Friday, and you'll save $50 off your weekend pass. This is a special offer just to you guys for being on this live stream and staying all the way through. So the code is UNLEASH, UNLEASH, just like it was in the title. And you can go to atltantrafest.com to register. It's October 12th through the 14th. Jasper, yes, of course, the Goddess Hand is open to male members. You have Goddess energy in you as well. It's not just for those that identify as women. It's for all representations of gender. We would love to have you. So just get ready for the next orientation so that we can get you in. We're always looking for more. EJ's always excited when there's another male volunteer, so please do join us on that. So yeah, so that's it. That's what I got for y'all tonight. I would love that. Please do try to make it. You still got time. Tickets are still cheap. To get to Atlanta, if you need to stay on site, accommodation emails are actually coming out this evening, so you'll get information on how to secure your overnight accommodations. We're really affordable while you're here in Atlanta, so we have overnight stays for all of our guests that are coming in from out of town. Priority goes to those that are coming in from the furthest away. So if you're coming in from Jonesboro, you might not get a space. For the folks that are coming in from Alaska and Hawaii, they're going to get a space first. So yeah, that's all I got for you all tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you online. I hope that you all become members of Patreon. We really rely on your support. As I mentioned, it's a nonprofit organization, and we do a lot of work, and we have a lot of volunteers, and it takes a lot to keep this ship running. So we really appreciate all the support we can have. Otherwise, I will see you all very soon. All the information is on the website, atltantra.com. That's ATL like the airport code, tantra like the sex you deserve to have.com. All right, y'all, have a wonderful night. Bye.